Now, don't you think that this war of Israel and Iran, backed by USA, can affect the world economy in one way or another?
It raises questions on the principle of sovereignty. Okay? When we look at the collective security and we go to the United Nations, USA is a permanent member of United Nations Security Council or United Nations. We expect USA to be a peace hub, to try to find a neutral ground of addressing the sanctions on Rwanda, because Rwanda is facing it rough. If the Rwanda Defense Forces officers are being sanctioned, if leaders are being sanctioned and other technical teams by a country like USA, this one could affect Rwanda economically, politically, and socially.
Do you think that this summit could be the effective solution on instability that we have in the region, and especially in Eastern DRC and Sudan? Hello, ladies and gentlemen, our followers of MJD Build Africa Podcast, to greet you all. Jambo. Today is an amazing day. Before you, it is Dominic, as usual. And then we have our guest. The face is familiar, but his words are always new. So give him attention and we'll learn from him. Today we're gonna discuss about the current affairs of warfare that are happening in Middle East. That's Iran, Israel, and USA. And also he will attack on the 25th Summit of East African Community, and we will let them and see how we can come up with the effective solution to our problems. Senior Diplomat, Ambassador Charles, you are most welcome to MJD.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Dominic.
Yes, how are you doing, sir?
I'm very good.
Thank you. So there's some new followers or new members of MJD who have never seen you. They would love also to know you. Introduce yourself.
First and foremost, I want to thank our viewers for continually supporting our platform. And I also want to appreciate you for the resilience of pushing this program. And for our viewers, my name is Charles Rujumba. And a career diplomat that is always ready to discuss issues related with international relations and diplomacy across the globe.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Charles. As we've said, that today we want to discuss world affairs now, which is the war between Iran and Israel, also, where also USA is involved. What is your view on that war?
Thank you so much, Ambassador Dominic. When we are trying to look at the Israel-USA-Iran conflict, why not first look at the structure or the scope of the conflict? To our viewers, this is not a conflict that has begun today. There has been tensions for decades of years. And when you look at the structure of the Middle East itself, there has always been this say of us or them against Iran. If you look at Donald Trump, president of USA, from the time he assumed power, you saw him visiting the Middle East.
Yes.
And he was even blessed with some gifts. Okay? And on the current situation, when you look at what is happening, USA had to use allies within the Middle East and in the neighboring areas to be able to execute the current mission. So what does this mean? When you look at the Middle East integration and this structure, the Gulf states and the Middle East states, you see them as if not being on a parallel line. And that's why Iran faced a very serious challenge that has plunged it into a serious conflict. Unfortunately, that it led to the demise of their leader, who passed on during this war, the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei.
Yes.
So what does this one bring to us as international relations scholars or people who believe in diplomacy? That within the space where we're expecting that diplomacy would yield something good because there were ongoing talks.
Yes.
And we didn't expect them to end soon or the conflict to escalate and result into a war. We saw Israel teaming up with USA while cooperating with the Middle East states. And this has caused a very serious havoc, whereby now we are seeing several hundreds of people dead in Iran and in the neighboring states, and we expect the numbers to raise to thousands. That is not something we expected. And then we all know that the Middle East is an economic hub for the whole world. When you hear people talking about the Strait of Hormuz, it does not only benefit the Middle East, but the whole world when it comes to fuel supply. When you hear of Israel being involved in this conflict, you have the Secretary of State for USA trying to praise Israel that now it's almost the second powerful when it comes to Air Force, because they very well executed the mission in its beginning by hitting the right target for killing the supreme leader of Iran and his counterparts. So in a nutshell, what I'm trying to talk about is at this moment we expected the Middle East and the Gulf states to be together and say no for Israel and USA to attack Iran. We are siding with it. But unlike we are trying to see states like North Korea, states like China, states like Russia, they are the ones which are trying to back. So meaning, when it comes to regional integration, it's lacking. It's not parallel. Now, there is international interference or external interference where we see that the Middle East and some Gulf states against Iran, they're being backed up by the USA, okay? And then Iran is being backed out by other people who believe in them, I think, when it comes to business.
Now, Mr. Charles, if I'm to ask, do you think that seriously this war is caused, the people sparked this war, that the Israelites, the Iranians, or the Americans?
First of all, you know, a war can't come from anywhere. You are very much aware that before this war came in, there were some protests and demonstrations within Iran against the system, okay? Domestic protests and protests and demonstrations. So USA and Israel, they took advantage of this so that people are tired of this regime. And if you hear of the submissions from President Donald Trump, he said, as much as the supreme leader is gone, we shall not accept Iran to bring a leader without our interference, because we want the Iran government to go back to its citizens, not the current system of administration. So I don't believe that it's only the external interference that is only affecting Iran today. But first and foremost, this is a serious challenge when it comes to the international system or international relations or diplomacy. Why? When we look at the Westphalia Treaty of 1648, it talked about these things. We have the principle of non-interference. Iran is a sovereign state with an established system of leadership. But if you see Israel and USA, they can come and align with the Middle East and the Gulf states to bring down its system of administration that has been legally put in place. It raises questions on the principle of sovereignty, okay? When we look at the collective security and we go to the United Nations, USA is a permanent member of United Nations Security Council or United Nations. We expect USA to be a peace hub. If the issue is about Iran manufacturing nuclear, and there are other channels that can be addressed to use this issue, there are several agencies responsible for nuclear, and we hear discussions were ongoing. What was it? What is that is too bad that for them they lost patience and they feel like now they should bring down the system and stop Iran from producing nuclear? If other states are using nuclear or developing nuclear weapons, then what's wrong with Iran apart from putting on measures that would be put in place to make sure that this nuclear is not becoming a threat to the neighboring states? Because even when the war started, Iran has not hit targets that are not intentional. If you look at the bombings in the Middle East with the nuclear and drones, they have been intentional. They are hitting embassies of America. Okay?
Yes.
They are trying to target the officials of America. Why? Because they feel USA is the one which supported Israel to hit Iran. But we've not seen them directly attacking. They're saying that we are attacking the Qatar government. We are attacking Dubai. We are attacking Saudi Arabia.
Mr. Charles.
Yes, sir.
You have said that America is one of the permanent members of UN now, and we expect it to be the hub of peace. Now, don't you think that this war of Israel and Iran, backed by USA, can affect the world economy in one way or another?
First and foremost, for any war, it is inevitable for it not to affect the world economy. Because I've told you, if the Strait of Hormuz is affected, the global supply of fuel, is also negatively affected. But then far away from that, we are hearing the USA government say it is going to make sure it offers security to the ships that are carrying fuel on the Strait of Hormuz. Remember, this is not the first act which America is doing. We saw what happened just within a short period on Venezuela, where Maduro was removed from power. Not even being imprisoned in his own state, but now he's being imprisoned from USA. Not even being charged from his state, but being charged from USA. And not only that, but even now America has access to the fuel of Venezuela. To our dear viewers and whoever is following this program, I'm not against USA, okay? But we are trying to align things for us to understand more the scope of international relations and diplomacy. And we are asking ourselves, are things changing? Okay? Has the United Nations failed to address these issues which could even plunge us into World War III? Is the principle of non-interference or sovereignty no longer working? And far away from giving you an example of Venezuela, we are seeing it even locally here where we are in the East African community, whereby as a region, we have failed to address issues to some extent, but we are seeing in USA bringing on table the current president of DRC, Felix Tshisekedi, and Kagame on diplomatic talks. And even after that, USA is going ahead to act by even putting on some sanctions on Rwanda with claims that have failed to respect the peace deal. So it is going to affect the economy, whether you like it or not. And if you go to the fuel station right now, I don't know whether these fuel dealers, they're dealing on speculation or it has already reached these ends.
Yes.
Fuel now in Uganda has increased by 46 shilling when you're buying petrol. In most fuel stations, they have added 46
Not
shillings.
Mr. Terrace. They have added 45 shillings, Ugandan shillings.
46 Ugandan shillings.
Now, we have talked about the Middle East warfare. Now, let us come back home now in East African community, where in previous days we had a 25th East African Community Summit. What's your view about that summit? And do you think that summit could be the effective solution of instability that we have in the region?
Thank you so much for bringing in that aspect. But before you come to the East African community, allow me to appreciate a few things on the Israel-USA-Iran conflict. One, I appreciate the scope of war or the art of war that is on how it is happening in the Middle East and Iran itself. Clearly trying to expose the progress in technology when it comes to strategic intelligence and modern warfare. It's almost a war of modern warfare or a modern warfare. backed up with strategic intelligence, where we see that Mossad has played a very big role, that when it came to attacking the supreme leader of Iran during the time of executing that mission,
Yes.
they didn't harm so many other people apart from the target they needed. To an extent that even up to now, there are people who are being accused of having been the ones who gave out the coordinates from the Iran system of administration. Then too, I also want to appreciate the government of Iran that in retaliation, they have not tried at least to hit on citizens in other countries. With a very live example, that Ugandan students who are studying from Tehran, they managed to be evacuated from Iran to Turkey and then be airlifted to Entebbe. If it was a very, very bad government, like the way we are seeing in media, I don't think all those scenarios would have happened. Even all other neighboring countries, they would not have hit only embassies and a few communities with USA members or Israel members. Even the local communities would have been affected. However much they are also affected, but not to a higher extent. Then when I come back home to ESC, you talked about the 25th East African Community Summit. This is very interesting. As East African community, we are moving ahead. And when you look at the theme was a very good one, benefiting the common man, the same way how we've been discussing about this. But apart from that, I want to appreciate the heads of states for East African community for the tremendous progress. Because if we see peaceful transfer of power in this rotational chairmanship of East African community, we saw power shifting from now he's former, but he has been the chairperson.
Yes.
His Excellency William Ruto of Kenya, handing over the chairmanship to His Excellency Joel Kaguta Tebahurwa Museveni of Uganda. This was so interesting one. Museveni is soon beginning his new term in office. I think as Ugandans and those who support the NRM government, it was a win deal. Then we saw also other new players coming in, like Ambassador Stephen Mundi from Tanzania, showing the institutional changes or appointments, where he was appointed as the new East African Community General Secretary.
Yes.
That's a very big stride to a region which is still growing in terms of democracy and governance.
No, Mr. Terrace.
Yes.
Now, the theme was to benefit a local man. Do you think I, Dominic, a proud peasant, will benefit from this summit?
Yes. Yes. How? Because if you look at the key things that happened within this summit, it happened during a time when there are tensions or security tensions within the region. To an extent, we saw, I have told you, His Excellency Felix Tshisekedi and His Excellency Paul Kagame of DRC and Rwanda, respectively, even missing this summit. Okay? But now the theme is talking about deepening integration. The theme is talking about establishing the East African community, regional bonds. Okay? To ease trade, to ease the flow movement, to reduce on the costs. The theme is talking about trying to integrate more the community. Okay? Right now, if you look at Uganda in its foreign policy implementation, there are already bilateral agreements between Uganda and Kenya, whereby Kenyans, they don't pay work permits here in Uganda, they apply through the normal process, but if the person has all the requirements, does not pay even a single Ugandan shilling to have a work permit in Uganda. That's the free movement of labor, and we are able to exchange that. When you look at Tanzania, Tanzanians, they are paying half of the work permit fee when they're operating in Uganda. If he's supposed to pay $2,500, he's paying $1,250, 50% off
the permit fee.
Yes. So apart from that, we saw the art of diplomacy coming in. These gentlemen or heads of states and other key players within the East African community, they want to find a way of addressing the security concerns within the region. And we all know His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is good at that. If he has done it in Mogadishu, Somalia, and other areas, I think we can try to address it within our region. But far away from that, I expect him, being that he's now the current chairman for the non-aligned movement, being that now he's the chairman of the East African community, and other regional and international organizations he's leading right now, and the fact that he has won the elections and is beginning his new term as the president, he has the power to use the round table of diplomacy. Wait a minute, let me finish my point. To try to find a neutral ground of addressing the sanctions on Rwanda. Because Rwanda is facing it rough. If the Rwanda Defense Forces officers are being sanctioned, if leaders are being sanctioned and other technical teams by a country like USA, this one could affect Rwanda economically, politically, and socially. So I believe there is something good coming out of this.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. As wind up, do you think that this summit could be the effective solution on instability that we have in the region, and especially in Eastern DRC and Sudan?
What I believe in, diplomacy is a continuation of war by other means. Okay? Presence of diplomacy does not mean absence of war. But it's a tool that can be used either to minimize the war, end the war, or the war to happen with a minimal costs. You're very much aware that DRC has been in war for close to 20 plus decades. But if you can look at the time since DRC decided to join the East African community, I think there are some things which have been addressed. And the war, much as the effects have deepened, but it is not spreading to other areas. At least now we see it so much in the Kivu province, and then other regions, there are other tensions, but then we can see the diplomatic talks happening domestically and the international level. But what do I mean when it comes to this? Democracy is a process. I cannot tell you that East African community is going to reach on the level where the European Union is within 10 years. That's impossible. I cannot tell you that East African community can reach on the level where the United States is today. I don't want to lie you here on this platform with the viewers that within 10 years or 20 years or 50 years, we are going to start comparing EAC with the Soviet Union. That's impossible. We can't compare it to the Asian tigers. It's a process. But what we should appreciate right now is that from the 3 member states of East African community, today we are having 8 member states or 7 member states of East African community. Without any positive progress, don't risk and think this progress can be achieved. And if you look at the 25th East African Community Summit, there has been also a window that was opened to waive 50% areas of member states. And also saying that the subscription should also be paid locally. I think in local currencies. I've not understood that point very well, but I'm still doing research on it because the summit was there. Is it on 7th March? Yes. So I'm still trying to understand the whole outcomes of the summit. So I believe as time is moving on, we are going to have a stable DRC and a stable Sudan, but not today, not tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador Charles. I think we can pause from here for today, but we shall resume from here with Ambassador Charles. Ambassador Charles, we thank you for honoring our invitation and come to MJD Build Africa podcast. I know your ideas already shape the future and build Africa, the future of Africans. So guys, we thank you all for joining us, for loving us, for supporting MJD Build Africa podcast. Our major goal, our core goal is to promote unity, is to teach people more about Pan-Africanism, and also to unlock the potential of African youth. Together we can build Africa, Africa for Africans. Thank you.